Welcome to the Dirt Court Jesters podcast, your home for dirt track racing, especially right here in our backyard. Coming to you from the great state of Ohio, this is Josh with the Dirt Court Jesters. In episode 8, we're going to talk about AFCS, angles, and rulebook section 13. I hope you guys are ready to get dirty. This week in dirt racing history, we're actually going to give you a twofer. Saw something on Indianapolis Motor Speedway's social media, so I wanted to go back to that. So we're going to start with that one first. March 20th of 1909, Carl G. Fisher, James A. Allison, Arthur C. Newby, and Frank H. Wheeler would form the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Company. Obviously, you guys know that would transition to become the racing capital of the world. Very cool of Indianapolis Motor Speedway to put that history out. It's been a long time since those guys formed that company, which transitioned away from a testing facility and into the racing capital of the world. So very cool to see. We're going to go to this weekend dirt racing history. On March 27th of 1999, the USAC sprint cars would visit Eldora Speedway, with Derek Davidson grabbing the checkered flag, Brian Tyler in second, and Jack Hewitt rounding out the podium. Motorsport.com would note 5 different drivers flip that night. So it must have been a wild night at Eldora. Cool to see Jack on the podium, Derek Davidson with the checkered. And that's this week in dirt racing history. I want to give a shout out to Victory Fuel, from Throttle Punch to Lucky Lemon. Both flavors are dynamite. 12 packs and 4 packs, and even some cool merchandise as well. Go to drinkvictory.com and use the code Jesters10 at checkout to save. drinkvictory.com and use the code Jesters10 at checkout to save.
Acknowledge me!
Recapping the previous race week, March 18th through the 24th of 2024. Mother Nature didn't play nice across the country. It didn't matter where you were at. March 22nd, Attica Raceway Park tried to open once again, and they were canceled due to the weather. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars also tried to get it in that day at Big O Speedway. Canceled due to weather. The World of Outlaw Late Models at Thunderhill. Canceled due to weather. Luckily enough, in Pennsylvania, on March 22nd, they were able to get a race in at Williams Grove. Freddie Raymer comes away with the win. Danny Dietrich in second, and Corey Eliason in third. Moving on to March 23rd, the World of Outlaw Late Models at Thunderhill. Canceled due to the weather. And the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars at Cannondale for the first time did not get canceled due to weather, but they ran into some issues with lighting. Apparently, a transformer blew in the infield and caused a delay. They had to bring a generator in, some portable lights in, but they were able to get the racing in. And for those who stuck around, you got a hell of a race. Wild last lap. Carson Macedo comes away with the win. David Gravel in second, Aaron Reitzel in third. Now you've got David Gravel and Gio Scelzi tied. Obviously, it's early, but tied for points. And 8 races into the World of Outlaw Sprint Car season, they've had 8 different winners. So that's very cool to see. March 23rd as well, Lucas Oil Late Models were at Brownstown in Indiana. Hopefully can get there sometime, and I know a lot of people after that race had the same sentiment. The Ohio man, Devin Moran, comes away with the victory. Bobby Pearson second, and Mike Marlar in third. The top 3 separated by a half a second, so very good race there at Brownstown for Lucas Oil Late Models, and Devin Moran comes away with the victory. Currently, as we speak, it's March 24th. Recording this episode, the Lucas Oil Late Models are scheduled to hit the track later this afternoon at Atomic. Should be a good way for Atomic to start the season. Everything is a go, so glad track in Ohio can finally get underway. And that's going to recap our previous race week.
Let me talk to you!
This week's talking points. I want to start out first by giving out some congratulations. Kubota becomes a title sponsor for High Limit Racing, and Kubota also is the title sponsor for Dirt Tracker Daily. So congratulations, very cool for everybody, especially Justin Fiedler and Dirt Tracker. The guy's been putting in tons of work. You guys know what he does. If you haven't seen it, number one, I don't believe you. Number two, get to dirttracker.com, check it out. His YouTube channel is great as well. He's obviously got the daily shows. He has some lives every once in a while. He's got Zach Hampton building a sprint car right now. So congratulations to Justin Fiedler. Awesome of Kubota to jump in the dirt racing world. And on that note, also want to send a congrats to our boys at Dirt Tracks and Rib Racks, Charlie and Bunner. They got a new sponsor as well, K Excavating. So congratulations to them. Winchester Speedway announced they're going to donate 100% of their general admission ticket sales from their April 7th race to the Randolph County Tornado Relief Fund. April 7th, they're going to have Crown Vics, Thunder Roadsters, and open practice for USAC Silver Crown cars. So awesome of Winchester Speedway to step up and donate 100% of their general admission ticket sales for April 7th to the Randolph County Tornado Relief Fund. The Hunt the Front series, we talked about this last week. We had 20 drivers for the 25 race tour with Scott Bloomquist jumping in. They're up to 23 drivers now. So looking like it's going to be a solid 2024 season for Hunt the Front. The High Limit Room recently discussed Donnie Schatz's comments, specifically Brad Sweet says he understands Donnie's stance, but didn't feel that some of his comments made sense. Brad would talk about Donnie's numbers regarding hotels and races not being correct. And I know in catching Donnie's interview, it sounded like somebody at TSR had actually crunched those numbers for him. But Brad says they're not correct as far as they're not racing as much, but they're traveling more, spending more time and money in hotels. And again, Brad says it's not the case. Brad also says he wasn't and isn't riding Kyle's coattails through any of this. Obviously, they're both looking at this in terms of a business after they're done racing. And let's not forget, Kyle Larson's obviously a big name, but Brad Sweet's won the last 5 World of Outlaw championships, so and he's no slouch either. And Brad would go on to say he feels that some of the moves made for this season by the World of Outlaws were a result of what High Limit is doing, and goes on to say that they're just going to prove Donnie wrong. So no love lost between those two. Kyle would come and say that the sport itself is what they have in mind, which is why they have the sponsors and the teams that are following them. So obviously there's been a lot of talk about that, and folks don't believe that Kyle or Brad really have sprint car racing itself in mind, specifically with the All-Stars going away and that region here in Ohio and Pennsylvania and even New York losing that money, those teams and drivers losing the money that the All-Stars used to bring in. And Brad and Kyle will both say that it's going to take time for the vision of what they have for High Limit to be seen. So, I mean, really, they raced last season, but really this is the first real season of High Limit. So I'm curious to see, obviously, how this season goes and into 2025. Tim McCready would hop in the Rocket One house car, and Hudson O'Neill would end up in the Rumley Longhorn number 71 this weekend here at Brownstown and Atomic. And that got me thinking, Hudson O'Neill's switching from a Rocket chassis to a Longhorn chassis. I know that's a big deal. Um, I think it made me think of Donnie switching to the Ford motor and the discussion about how he had to drive differently with that motor, and was able to find a conversation on Dirt Tracker between Justin Fiedler and Brandon Shepard in December of 2023, where B. Shep would note that there were a lot of differences. He was running Rocket for a long time and went to Longhorn last year. And if you go back and look at his results, they were kind of up and down. There would be one night he'd have a second or a third, and the next night he might be 18th or 19th. So um, Shepard would go on to explain that not only did they have to adjust the setups of the car, but he also had to change the way he drove the car. So, interesting perspective. I had a feeling before I located that video that there was probably significant differences, and it turns out that one of the better drivers out there says, yeah, as a matter of fact, there is. So Moving on to the talk that just will not go away, Wicker Bills. I feel like there's a good chance we talk about Wicker Bills the remainder of the season. Maybe not every week, but I think we're going to be close. And funny enough, Logan Wagner on his social media had a more scientific approach to try and solve the Wicker Bill problem. And he actually discussed wing angle. And I'm going to quote him because this is way over my head. Logan Wagner would say, to completely eliminate all these troubles, an angle of attack rule should be put into place. Let's degree the wings at max 19 degrees in staging before we are pushed onto the track, not check it after the race. As you race, the AOA, angle of attack, may increase with wing sliders, but not much. So I don't, I have no clue. There's a lot of it. I had put out something, there was a research done in 2002 regarding a sprint car in a wind tunnel. This is, I just want to go to the race and watch a race and have a beer and have a good time. I'm not so sure about all this math and science getting into this, but hey, it's out there. And to think that this isn't something that they're going to continue to look into to try to find a resolution because they're trying to make the racing better, which I certainly appreciate. And obviously, there's a solution somewhere. The question is, what's that solution? So, Logan Wagner thinks that they need to change the degree of the wings. That's interesting. And yep, we're just going to see how this season plays out because I know they're going to keep messing with this stuff to try and find a solution because they're trying to make sure they're putting on a show for the fans. So, and finally, if you hadn't caught Zach Hampton building a sprint car on Dirt Tracker, it's informative for us that aren't in the know, and maybe even for you guys that are. I don't know, but I know for just us fans, it's something that I've enjoyed watching, following. And in episode 6, Zach Hampton builds a sprint car and discusses the transponder position, which led me to the World of Outlaw sprint car rulebook. So just kind of seeing if there was something put in language as far as exactly where the transponder would be mounted. And it actually, I stumbled on another section of the rule book not related to the transponder. And it was section 13. And section 13, letter E, I quote, the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series officials may refuse to allow a participant to compete in an event if it is determined at their discretion that any advertising and or sponsorship or similar agreement is detrimental to the sport, the World of Outlaws, NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series, the event promoter, the World Racing Group for any reason, including the image of the sport. End quote. That's interesting. I don't know that that section ever comes into play, but when I read that, I just had to think, would they ever use this section to try and keep somebody from high limit out of a World of Outlaw race? And that's going to wrap up this week's talking points.
Woo!
Moving on to local coverage, awesome news for the Midwest Thunder Midgets, the USAC D2 Thunder Midgets. They're going to have 2 races at Fremont Speedway, paying $1,000 to win and $150 to start. So cool to see Rich Farmer and Fremont Speedway paying the Thunder Midgets $1,000 to win and $150 to start. And that's going to give the Thunder Midgets 5 races in 2024, paying $1,000 to win at Eldora, Moeller, Millstream, and then the 2 at Fremont. So great to see for that series. Can't wait to see those guys at the track. I noticed last month also the Ohio Thunder Sprint Car Series announced they were looking for a title sponsor in 2024. At the beginning of this month, they had a meeting, so I'm not sure if that's been addressed or not. They put out that they were looking for a title sponsor, so you can hit them up on their Facebook page for more information. They've got 30 races at 8 different tracks in Ohio and Northern Kentucky. So if you're looking to be a title sponsor for a sprint car series, Ohio Thunder Sprint Car Series is looking for one. And although it's not dirt, it's good to see another track reopening. Norton Raceway Park in Ohio, formerly Barberton Speedway, a quarter-mile asphalt track, is reopening in 2024. So good to see that. Always love it when tracks are coming back. Definitely don't want the latter. So good to see another track opening up. And speaking of that, we're going to go back to Millstream as we always do. Millstream Speedway putting in the work. Doesn't matter what the weather is. The volunteers have been awesome and looks like they're getting a lot of work done. And apparently they've got an exciting change to the track that if you were out there volunteering this past weekend, the 23rd and the 24th of March, you may already know about, but the rest of us are going to have to wait. As always, if you can lend them a hand on the weekends, they're working until they get it done. Hit them up on Millstream Speedway Facebook. Let them know you're coming. They hook up folks for lunch if you're there. So seems like they got to be getting closer and closer. I'm curious to see what that changes in the track. And like I said, if you can help them out, let them know. And that's going to end our local coverage.
I'm the tower of power, too sweet to be sour. I'm funky like a monkey. Sky's the limit and space is the place.
Series, teams, drivers, tracks, dirt media. This is your time and this is your spotlight. The spotlight is on, and this week's spotlight is the Attica Fremont Championship Series. AFCS was formed to keep local sprint car racing strong between Attica Raceway Park and Fremont Speedway, both tracks located in north central Ohio. AFCS is comprised of 410 sprint car series and a 305 sprint car series, both of them with their own point fund and championship. On April 12th of 2019, Byron Reed would lead all 30 laps to win the first AFCS 410 race, and John Ivey would capture the checker flag to win the first AFCS 305 race. Since then, there's obviously been many drivers to capture checker flags during AFCS competition. Cap Henry leads the way in the AFCS 410s with 12 wins, while Paul Weaver leads the way in the AFCS 305s with 22 wins. Your AFCS 410 champion in 2023 was Cap Henry, and your AFCS 305 champion in 2023 was Paul Weaver. In 2024, the AFCS 410 shows will pay at least $4,000 to win and $400 to start, and the AFCS 305 shows will pay at least $1,000 to win and $200 to start. Additional money is going to be added throughout the season. Recently, the Whistle Stop Bar and Grill and Sure Shot Tap House partnered with AFCS for 2024 to add some money to teams and drivers. Awesome to see Andrew doing that. Andrew also doing continuous work, adding some stuff to the Sure Shot Tap House in Greenville. Always taking care of the Whistle Stop Bar and Grill in Ansonia. If you haven't been to either, you got to get to them. If you are at Eldora, they're right down the road. Just go south on 118. You'll hit Ansonia first, minutes away, and not much further south, the Sure Shot Tap House in Greenville. Hit those spots up if you're at Eldora for a race. Even if you're not at Eldora for a race, if you're in the area, food's great, drinks are great, always a fun time. Makes me think of going to the Whistle Stop Bar and Grill a couple years ago during King's Royal Week when my father-in-law Bob pulled out his harmonica. By the way, he is not at all trained to play harmonica, and proceeded to play for everybody who was present. So always a fun time at Whistle Stop Bar and Grill. Check it out. Check out Sure Shot Tap House. Awesome for Andrew to join AFCS. And on top of that, Dirt Vision is going to cover all 20 races for the AFCS. So really good things happening for AFCS going into this season. And looking at their schedule, starting April 19th at Attica, April 20th at Fremont, April 26th at Attica, April 27th at Fremont, May 10th at Attica, May 11th at Fremont, May 31st at Attica, June 1st at Fremont, June 21st at Attica, June 22nd at Fremont, July 5th at Attica, July 6th at Fremont, July 13th at Fremont, July 26th at Attica, July 27th at Fremont, August 3rd at Fremont, August 16th at Attica, August 23rd at Attica, September 6th at Attica, and wrapping it up September 7th at Fremont Speedway. AFCS 410 title sponsors All Pro, Aluminum Cylinder Heads, and Kistler Racing Products. And the title sponsor for the AFCS 305s is the Napa of Bryan, Ohio. A lot of sponsors helping them out, a lot of teams signing up to chase championships. Go to AFCSsprints.com for more information. Series, teams, drivers, tracks, dirt media. If you got any news you want to get out, hit me up. Like we always say, send me a DM on our X at DirtCourtJester. And remember, the spotlight is always on.
I drank a beer. I drank another beer. 3 beers. 4 beers. Oh no.
Wrapping up this episode and looking towards racing this week, March 29th, the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars are going to be at Thunderbird Speedway in Oklahoma. And on March 29th, Attica Raceway Park is going to once again try to open up, put some 410s, 305s, and late models out on the track. Good luck to Attica. March 30th, Florence Speedway in Kentucky is going to pay out $5,000 to win for late models. And on March 30th, the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars are going to visit 81 Speedway in Kansas. That's going to wrap up this week's episode. Just got to keep building this thing one lap at a time.
Goodbye. Mwah, and good night, bang.
Thanks for listening to the Dirt Court Jesters podcast. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a shout out. Let your friends know on X and YouTube as well at Dirt Court Jester. And we hope to see you guys at the track.